Tapai, thank you very much. Power interface, I left university. I was the only Māori woman in a 4-year degree of, I think, around 7,000 students. However, I have a stubborn streak, and so being the only Māori woman, and there were 3 other Māori men in different years than me, wasn't a scary thing. To me, it was a challenge. It was the red flag to the bull. And if anyone told me I couldn't do something, I'd be right there and say, yes, I can, and off I'd go. And I had been told as a young woman that women don't do tech, don't do computers, as they used to say in the old days. And of course, that was just the door, was wide open at that point. And I ended up going straight down that track without any other reason except for my stubbornness, I think. So I finished my degree in 91. And so 92, I think, is the year that they gave me the degree. So it was born, Power Interface was born then. It was born remote. We've never had an office. And of course, I've just realized when I look at those years, it's coming up 30 years now. So that's a little bit scary, I think. Incredible Skies was born 4 years ago. The original reason that the company was set up was to look at working with the Civil Aviation Authority to deliver medicines and supplies to remote Māori communities. We didn't quite get there. We almost got there, but we had pushback from the health sector, from doctors who were very much against anything remote. They would rather their patients drive a 3-hour round trip to go and walk into their clinics than allow for remote healthcare, let alone drone deliveries. And the pharmacists weren't too happy with us either. So there's quite a bit of pushback 4 years ago. Of course, COVID has changed everything. But someone in the community that we were going to pilot and reminded us last year that had we had a drone service delivering medicines and taking samples back and forth to hospitals or to the GP, life would look quite different. So a lot of it is about having an idea that maybe the timing isn't right, that kind of thing. The other thing that I'm involved in is just at the bottom there of the slide, you'll see MEDAB, M-E-D-A-B, which is the Māori Economic Development Advisory Board. As a result of COVID and as a result of the times we're in, they've now started a future of work stream, which will inform ministers and the government directly. So I'm part of a cohort of people talking about this very subject right now. So it's really timely and it's really critical. So I'm just going to move slides and make sure that people can see the slides as I move them. You should be able to see a big green circle. And that circle is telling the truth right now. I'm not going to mention any technologies throughout my whole presentation. And you'll see why soon. But I did have 4 things that I thought it would be good to think about for everybody. In New Zealand right now, the tech sector is the number 2 contributor to our GDP, to our economy. It was tourism, but of course COVID changed that completely, and the tech sector is now number 2 behind the primary sector. So this is where very much a dairy, farming, horticulture, forestry type country, for those of you who are not from here. Tech sector's coming right up behind that, and of course it makes a lot of sense because it is shielded from the environmental impact of the primary sector that Michelle talked about just before, and it's also shielded from, I guess, physical-based economies. And the second thing I thought it would be good for you to think about is that we have a tech skills shortage. We've quantified it here in New Zealand, but we also know that that tech skills shortage applies everywhere in the world. And just a note on that, it's not the junior roles that we're short of. It's more the medium and senior roles. So finding people who have a bit of experience perhaps has become extremely difficult. But for the junior or early stage people who are moving into their career, remember that your competition isn't every tech, isn't other people that are in your circles physically here in New Zealand. It's the outsourcing companies from all around the world that can do it better and cheaper. So this is a comment on how we should be thinking about our work life in the tech sector. The third one, tech trends analysis. The key here is not to assume that tech is static. It changes constantly. And doing some due diligence around what the trends are right now, both in your own country and worldwide, helps people choose the pathway for themselves about where they would spend their effort in terms of growing skills, I guess, in the tech sector. And then the last one, passive or active. I guess I'm asking for, particularly for people who are just beginning in their careers, and people who are supporting them, do you always want someone to tell you what to do? Or do you envisage someday that you will be leading? And this is a choice. And it leads to us thinking about what is it that we need to learn to navigate our career pathway or our work life. So today, it's the year 2022. I want to introduce you to Kermit, the tech worker version 0.1. He's a new tech worker. He is with his boss and startup founder, Miss Piggy. She's helping him start his new career. And the rest of my presentation will be if Kermit came to me and said, Robyn, can you help me with some advice around my tech career pathway? The rest of my presentation is my response to Kermit. So it's going to come in two parts, 4 stages with 2 parts. I'm going to give you the 4 stages and just a comment about the technology skills trajectory that a new person entering the tech sector might take. And I'm also going to give you some tips from the front line. I think Colart introduced me earlier as having some war stories. So this is a little bit touching on the war stories out there very much from an industry perspective and from someone who employs and contracts tech workers. So I'm really interested, even though I'm talking to Kermit, who's an early stage tech worker, I know there are industry people, there are academic people here too, and you might have a different way of seeing this than I do. So I look forward to your comments in the chat or when we get to the panel discussion. So Kermit, years 0 to 3, I would say to him, get skilled or reskill and provide evidence. So evidence looks like qualifications or experience, even if it's unpaid, and proper referees. So proper referee doesn't mean your uncle. It could be your favourite senior lecturer. It could be the highest level manager at your supermarket job. It could be your coach. It could be any credible, trusted contact that you have. And on the tip side, this is where I'm going to be really honest with you about how employers see their tech workers when they apply or when they approach for jobs. Employers do care about, at this stage, years 0 to 3, they do care about your qualification and sometimes your grades, but they care more about your integrity and communication skills. So I would say to Kermit, learn this now. Verbal skills, written skills, emotional maturity. Ask the employers in your life, in your circles, what good communication looks like and practice it everywhere. So now Kermit's in year 2 to 10 of his new work trajectory. I'm avoiding saying the word career because I had some advice very early on when I started working, probably within 6 or 7 years. I was quite worried because I was self-employed, had a company. I thought, gee, I can't say I have a title. I haven't got a clear career path. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. And this man, who was one of my clients, a very senior IT professional, said to me, don't worry about a career, just build experiences. And I've always taken that advice through to every project, every opportunity that comes my way. So in year 2 to 10 for Kermit, I would say to him, get better skilled and provide evidence. So that could also mean more qualifications, but not necessarily. Definitely means experience. It definitely means collecting referees, meaning building good relationships with them, being worthy of them saying good things about you, and building a portfolio. So between years 2 and 10, there should be some projects and programs and things that a new skilled tech worker might be building up to be able to showcase their leadership. On the tips side, by now, the employers don't really care which university you went to, unless maybe it was Harvard or Oxford. But I have had approaches by people who have gone to that universities, and to be really honest, I don't care. By then, I care more about other things. So they still care that you have the qualifications, but not necessarily your grades, because by then in years 2 and 10, you probably wouldn't get work if your grades were so low and you couldn't do the job. You wouldn't have much on your CV, right? So they care more about your experience and the quality of your referees. And then the third stage of 4, years 5 to 15 plus, I'd say to Kermit, get specialised and provide evidence. So a specialty might be, for example, cybersecurity, or it could be going down the track of where Michelle was talking. It could be some kind of technology specialty that looks at the impact of the environment in the tech sector. It could be anything, but whatever it is, have it clearly defined. And the tip here is that employers by now don't care about your qualification at all. If I get a CV from someone who hasn't got a degree, for example, I don't care. I'm now looking at their experience and their referees and their specialty portfolios. And then the last stage for Kermit, 15 years plus, I would say to him, become the expert, build a solid reputation, practice thought leadership, position yourself in the right circles with the right people, the kinds of people who challenge you, the kinds of people who inspire you, the kinds of people who you can have conversations with that really test your thinking. And the last one is being relevant. The tip here is that by now, employers only care about your reputation and your specialty area, and so does your industry. They're looking now at the caliber of your clients or your employers. They're no longer necessarily asking you all the detail in your CV. They're saying who hires you, because the better the caliber of whoever hires you, the more they lean into the idea of he or she must be pretty good then. And it's just a weird truth about how employers see things. Go to the right conferences, go to the right meetings, do speaking engagements, and build your networks genuinely and authentically with people. Learn how to build networks that are mutually beneficial, not for exploiting people, but how you can help each other. Posts on LinkedIn, post only the high quality LinkedIn posts, write white papers. So at this stage, you are absolutely demonstrating your expertise, and you have an audience because people believe that you have the expertise that they want to know about. That's it. Those are the 4 stages for Kermit. And then my last slide is just to look at the year 2065. This is Kermit the Frog version 102.4. Some of you will know why I chose that number. Kermit has reached the pinnacle of his career. And so I'd like to leave it there just for a little bit of thinking for you. Again, welcome you to challenge my thinking too through the chat or the panel. All I would say to the early stage people in their careers is make sure you earn the respect of your peers as a person and in your work, and they will without hesitation vouch for you. But I also really want to acknowledge Michelle's presentation. I was so happy that she did hers first. I hadn't seen it before she did it, but I think she set the scene beautifully for how we should go forward. So kia ora, everybody.